Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of High Strangeness. It's me, your boy Paul Aguilar. Um, yeah, we're back in the swing of things now. I know it's been kind of a long time since we've had anything out, really. Um, Podcasts and episodes are going to be coming up, so you guys make sure you stop back in for that. Yeah, if you guys are catching us on YouTube, as always, please remember to hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. Give us a thumbs up, maybe share it with a friend, colleague, family member, anybody you know. If you really appreciate our work here, also give us a thumbs up. That'll really help us out. Um, yeah, so we're gonna jump back into this interview with Art Bell, where he was interviewing Father Malachi Martin back in 1998. Same episode as last time, when we did um, the murder of that priest in Dane, Wisconsin. I forgot the name off the top of my head. I'll have to find out here shortly. So I apologize for that. But yeah, it's going to be the same episode. There was two very important topics they were talking about at that time, in this episode. So I want to jump back into this episode again. So Alfred Kunz was the name of the priest in Dane that had his throat cut. So if you guys are checking this out, you might want to go back to episode 21 of High Strangeness. Check that one out. That one was a doozy. It's a cold case still to this day. This was back in '98, so they're still looking for the guy. Um, yeah, but without further ado, let's jump into this episode. Let me know what you guys think. Comment. You guys have any questions for myself or any topic recommendations? Put them down in the comment section below, or you can send us an email. We'll have everything linked down below for you guys, as well as the articles that we're going to be running after this. So yeah, without further ado, let's hop in.
All right. You were advisor to two popes.
That's right.
Tonight there is news that just hours ago, for the first time in living human memory, actually about 150 years, they estimate.
A very good way of putting it, in living memory.
Yeah, there has been, it says a member of the Pope's elite Swiss Guard apparently shot and killed his new commander and the official's wife Monday night, then turned the gun on himself, all within Vatican walls. A next-door neighbor found the bodies. The Vatican spokesman said this was all done in what he called, quote, a moment of madness, end quote. What in the world could be going on in the Vatican?
Well, I'll tell you, Art, a word to the wise. With anything like this that involves the inner life of a institution which has now centuries-old precautions against publicity and being known what really goes on there, one has to be very, very circumspect and careful about any details released about something that they can't hide very well. It's very hard to hide the death of two officials.
Yes.
And the wife of one. You can't hide that very well.
Well, it's not being hidden. Believe me, it's a lead news item. I've got the Reuters.
They can't do anything about it. But as to the details, the devil is in the details, as they say. And the details have not been published. We do not know really what happened, except that 3 people are dead. And one apparently, according to the official account, by his own hand. A moment of insanity, momento d'insania, yes, that's one way of covering the issue. It was a general blanket.
A very careful statement, a moment of madness.
Yes, it's a nice way of conceiving. Yes, there was a dreadful thing. What it does indicate is this: murder, the killing of another human being, the shedding of blood, is one of the sure signs of demonic interference.
But in the Vatican?
Well,
I mean, is that a likely target?
It's funny that they talk about that. So I've always been under the impression when people say things like the Vatican has to be one of like the safest places in the world, like the holiest places in the world. You know, things where a place where you wouldn't necessarily think of, you know, like demons being around or possessions or murders and things like that. But it's always been my thought that these places like the Vatican and churches and stuff like that would be the keenest spots, the biggest targets for demons or anything like that. So you would think that, or I think that they would be the best spots for demons to attack people. In places where you would think are the holiest. You have all these priests and the Pope, and all these people that live there. Excuse me. Um, those would be the worst spots to be. That's where they would want to attack the most. And for a lot of people who would think like, oh, this is terrible, how could that happen at the Vatican? That's the the biggest target right there. That's you know public enemy number one for demons. They want to find everybody they can, especially the Pope, and try to flip them. Which unfortunately to this day, they've done a great job up until now. The inner workings of the church have completely fallen apart within the Vatican, and it's sad. I've said many times on a lot of different episodes with other people that I've spoken with that as a Roman Catholic, it's really hard for me to follow what the church is pushing nowadays. Pope Francis is my pope, but I don't consider or take any of what he says lightly, which is very upsetting. But it's just the church has gone so far away from what it used to stand for, and it's falling into the latest trends of society. So I don't know, but yeah, let's keep going.
Target in place, or is that an unlikely target in place?
No. Remember, just 2 popes ago, one pope said, Paul VI was his name. He died in 1978, and I knew him very well. He said the smoke of Satan has entered the sanctuary. And I think you remember a book of mine published in 1996 describing a Luciferian ceremony within the precincts of the Vatican. And remember that.
I think that book that he's mentioning is Windswept House. If you guys haven't read that book, I highly suggest you find that book. I have a couple of his books from that time period, early 90s and such. They're hard to come by nowadays. Obviously, they're not in print anymore since he passed away, I think, in the late 90s when he passed away. For a lot of people, they believe that he was killed. I kind of lean more towards that side of things, but yeah, a lot of his books are hard to come by. But I have a few of them, and they're really good books. A lot of them are fictional books with like actual stories wrapped into them. So like they're like true stories that happen in the Vatican, but he wraps them around like fictional stories, like cardinals with different names and different characters and stuff. But all the information within, you could read between the lines, is actually true. So I highly suggest you find them somewhere. I had to find them on Amazon, like really expensive books and other book spots, but you can find them out there. It's just going to be a little expensive.
The Vatican, the Pope has in his entourage, he has a chief exorcist. We all know him, Father Gabriel Amort, and there are 8 employees, exorcists, that work both in Rome and Milan and Turin. So there is a lot there. What we've just seen, the crack has opened, and we've seen one effect of it. Put it like this, Art. For somebody in my position, from what I know of how this institutional organization works, it is impossible that there be a triple death by violence within the precincts of the Vatican, amongst Vatican people, unless it is impossible that should happen without demonic interference. Because the thing is should be in principle so sacrosanct and so preserved from such activity that it might take place outside, but not inside.
I was there. I was in the Vatican. And to contemplate that occurring is almost beyond...
I know that. I realize fully how it has impacted you, as we say. But so my word to everybody is, we won't know the details for a long time, if ever in our lifetime. Just as other assassinations that took place in the Vatican, we haven't got the details yet.
The Vatican is its own sovereign state, is it not?
Absolutely.
So that the investigation, the details of it, the suspects, the people who would be caught, and then I have no idea what would happen in the Vatican if they came up with suspects. How are things handled in the Vatican?
Oh, they have their own way of dealing with that. So
Italian law in no way bears on the Vatican.
No, none. Now, normally, let's take a banal example. If somebody...
That's wild too. That the Vatican City is its own sovereign nation within another nation, so they have their own rules, their own police, their own court systems, and everything, which is pretty scary, right? Outside of Mecca, there's no really other religion that has that kind of stuff, unless you're a Scientologist. But even then, they kind of still have to work within the laws and stuff. But yeah, that's crazy that they can actually do that kind of stuff, and they actually have their own laws and rules and things like that. So which kind of emboldens them to do a lot of sneaky crap, behind the scenes. So
is found inside in the Vatican Museum trying to make off with a valuable chalice or something.
Yes.
They of course, put him in the Vatican prison, which they have, and they call in the police. And he's, a normal thing like that.
And then they are turned over to Italian authorities.
Yes, they are. Normal evil. Normal violation.
Normal evil, yeah.
Yes, normal. But anything which really comes from deep within and betrays the presence of betrays that footprint again. And this does. That's dealt with in camera and dealt with away from the prying eyes of the media and of the world. It's impossible for them to hide everything. And very early on in this incident, we all knew that something had happened, but the race in the various news media, the CNN, NBC, ABC, CBS, to try and get some substance to what they were hearing was fantastic to watch. Of course, nothing came out because the Vatican has means of choking off everything.
The pressure on the Vatican from the media over this is going to be big.
It is going to be big.
And do you think they will just hold their silence?
They will, but there's always the inevitable tipster, the inevitable sale of news. And that's what will probably happen.
I would imagine that Catholics all over the world, which look to the Vatican spiritually, will want to know if their spiritual capital is under siege.
That's right. And then, Art, there's another consideration which is painful for me anyway, because I'm a papist, as you know, in spite of the fact that I have my criticisms of the popes I've served with and popes I didn't serve with. And I have strong critiques of the present Holy Father, who is my pope. But I have strong critiques of him. But on another plane, this is a dreadful slap in the face to John Paul II. Because this happened under his watch. No matter how you cut it, he's the boss. He's in charge.
So really it works in the Vatican like it works in Washington.
Yes, it does.
Good economic times, the president gets the credit. Bad economic times, the president gets the blame.
Exactly. Oh, yes, it does. And you see, it does reflect on his administration. It does reflect on the spirit he has installed now for almost 20 years, as Pope. And a lot of us have been saying all along, for a long time, there is a spirit of secularization going on in John Paul II's Vatican, which makes possible such incidents as this and other incidents too, which have not come to light.
That's a good point that he makes there when he talks about secularism in the church. And that didn't really start with John Paul II, but it really escalated with him at that time, really took off. And we've been seeing a lot of that damage, today, as the church continues to push even more and more. You can walk into any church wherever you are in any city that you are right now on a Sunday, and they'd be talking about complete nonsense, nothing about God or anything like that, just a bunch of crap. It's they're too afraid to, preach in the pulpit what they should be preaching and actually following gospel and doctrine. It's just a bunch of made up crap. Now you have all these other churches that, especially out here where I'm at in Texas, where they come up with these crazy churches where they don't even have crosses on the walls, and the priest is up there in a button-up shirt or like wearing a tie or something, or not even wearing a tie, wearing a polo shirt and jeans, just talking a bunch of nonsense and people having fun. I mean, let's say you can have fun in church, but having like a band on stage and people dancing and all kinds of crazy stuff, it's just it's so far removed. And if you're into that kind of stuff, that's on you, but don't call yourself a true Christian in a sense. Or you're not a classic Christian or Roman Catholic. If you're that, you can't be towing the line. You're either for or against certain topics, and you can't have it both ways. But that's just me. I'll get off my soapbox.
So it must be a cause of great anguish to John Paul too.
I'm certain that is so, but you're saying even what I would think of as relatively small moves, because it looked very non-secular when I was there. But these small moves would invite in the possibility, you're saying, of what has happened?
Yes, they do. They do. The old Italian saying, which I can't quote any longer in the Italian because I forget it, is that any crack in the wall and the wisp of Satan enters, the wisp of evil enters. And there is a process a gentle process. The intention is ecumenical. The intention is to be like the rest of the world. The intention is not to be so remote. But there has been a tendency in the...
That's what I was saying, with the intention of not being so remote. The church wanting to fit in with what's going on in society and not wanting to, paint itself in a corner with some of the more harsh, aspects of the Bible and the faith. But stick by your guns, man. It's just, you just got to. So
the pontificate of John Paul II to be so accommodating. Well, let me give you one example. No pope, believe you me, Art, no pope of the 263 popes before him would have sat down with the leader of the voodoo priests of Haiti, which he did.
He did.
And he said to them, look, Father Maurice, I think Maurice is the name of the head of the voodoo expert priest in Haiti. Look, we are interested in your religion, and you should be interested in our religion. That is something which is unheard of in Catholic tradition. Or John Paul II himself has gone to a secret island off the Madagascar Republic, where he drank from the sacred water, from the sacred fountain of the god, of the local god worshipped. That is, or he sat in a phallus-shaped chair in India and had the mark of Kali put on his forehead.
Oh, my God. Father, his wife shot another man who shot them, committed suicide. All of this inside the walls of the Vatican, the killing, the first inside the walls of the Vatican in our living memory. I guess there may have been 150 years ago something may have happened. And we were talking about that before the break. Just an incredible, incredible occurrence. And Father Martin began to say that Pope John Paul, I think this bears repeating and trying to understand, Father. Pope John Paul has been in some way affected himself.
It must be a cause of great anguish for him.
Well, you said that, but you said that he went to a voodoo. Now I'm not really caught up on this, Father.
Well, he went to Haiti.
Haiti.
He had a papal trip to Haiti, and during that trip, he met officially with the head of I think it's 15,000 voodoo priests that live in Haiti, and sat down with him. We have the photograph, but I have it here in my files. And one of the things he said was with typical John Paul II ecumenism. Look, we are interested in your doctrine, and we think you should be interested in our Catholic doctrine.
How?
I know. It leaves you speechless.
That's right.
Or, for instance, in years past, when he went to India, John Paul II permitted a young lady in a sari to put the sign of Kali on his forehead with that red stain. And he sat in a chair chosen by the Indian bishops, which had the phallic shape. As you know, the phallus is worshipped in Hinduism.
Why?
Well, these were actions of John Paul II destined to create a great fellowship and feeling. For instance, let me give you an example which struck us all at the time and is not mentioned because people are afraid of being called anti-Semite. John Paul II went for the first time as a pope. He went to the synagogue in Rome. The head of the synagogue is a very respectable rabbi called Alois Estermann, very well known to all of us. And they sat on a stage, or a bema, as they call it in Hebrew, on two chairs, sort of catty corner facing themselves and facing the audience. And in his speech, which is a very good speech, by the very good address, John Paul II said his only reference was, oh, by the way, you know, our founder was of your race. That's all the testimony to Jesus that John Paul II gave. And when his Vatican held a special Holocaust evening, which was standing room only, it was such a grand affair, with music and with a huge menorah lit by the grandchildren of people who had survived Auschwitz and Dachau and Birkenau, the Hitler camps. In his speech for that particular evening, which was a Holocaust evening, John Paul II consented to have the only crucifix in the hall removed in order not to offend his Jewish friends.
All right, we kind of got off topic there, but it's very interesting when you kind of listen to what was going on at that time. It's not hard to see why the church is where it is today. It took about 30 years almost from that point. Obviously, there's been things in the background working, to get to where we are now, but that's kind of how that started, more so during John Paul II. So, but we're really talking about the killing and the suicide that was in the Vatican at that time that was happening, or that happened that day. So I'm going to read a little bit of an LA Times article from May 5th, 1998. So we can go back that far. And this is coming from Vatican City. So I'll just read a little bit of it. This comes from Los Angeles Times, which I'll link the article. There's another one also coming from the Inter Press Service News Agency. Saturday, July. When was this? This was not recently. Doesn't have a date, but I'll link it anyways, so that way you guys can read them. So from the LA Times, Vatican City, it says the new head of the Papal Swiss Guards, who shielded Pope John Paul II during a 1981 assassination attempt, was found shot dead Monday with his wife and another guard, the Vatican said. The triple killings were the first violent deaths at the Vatican in 150 years, which they said, and occurred only 10 hours after the Pope had appointed Alois Estermann, which was the captain who got shot, 43, captain, commandant of the Swiss Guards. A neighbor found the bodies of Estermann, his wife Gladys Meza Romero, and officer Cedrich Tornay after hearing loud noises coming from Estermann's Vatican apartment. A neighbor found the bodies of Estermann, his wife Gladys Meza Romero, and officer Cedrich Tornay after hearing loud noises coming from Estermann's Vatican apartment. I read that. Preliminary evidence suggested that Tornay, 23, killed the couple in a moment of madness, like he said, momento de insania. before turning the gun on himself, Chief Vatican spokesman Joaquin Navarro Valls said Tornay's gun was found under his body. How convenient. Autopsies of the 3 bodies were to be carried out in the morning. Estermann had been serving as acting commander of the Papal Army. The position had been vacant for nearly 7 months. Wait. Oh, so he was serving as kind of like the stand-in for the guards, Swiss guards. It's crazy. So he had officially been appointed, and then this dude killed him. I've seen other articles suggesting there was some kind of a love triangle between either the guard that shot them and the captain's wife, or some kind of crazy stuff like that. I've even seen articles that refer to like gay love triangle, which doesn't surprise me considering the pink cardinals that they have now in the Vatican. They have their own little group and sect of underground kind of sex orgies and gay orgies, stuff like that with some of the cardinals. But that's a topic for another story. That's for another day. And let's go back to the article. It says the last time shots rang out in the tiny city state was in 1981 when John Paul was wounded in front of thousands of onlookers. The last killing inside the walls of Vatican City was in 1848 when Pope Pius XI, its Prime Minister Count Pellegrino Rossi, was assassinated during the political unrest preceding the unification of Italy. In January, a Roman nobleman who served in the Vatican's protocol corps was killed. The slaying of Enrico Sinilucci, however, took place in the man's Rome apartment. Yeah, so it's crazy. There's always been kind of assassinations and stuff. You go back to the first 18 popes, they were all assassinated. So I would not have wanted that job at that time. And it was something like the first 18 popes ever were assassinated in like the first, I don't know, it was like 10, 15 years of the church actually being formed. So it's, you know what I mean? It's rough. So until they finally got stuff together, but it's crazy. But yeah, guys, I mean, let me know what you guys think about this. It's definitely, so it happened way back in 98. So it's been a while, but I'm always interested with any kind of story that comes from the Vatican and things that happen in the Vatican, especially when it comes to stuff like this. So if you guys know anything more about it, or you have any other crazy stories about things that happen in the Vatican, please let me know. Like I mentioned, share in the comments, shoot me an email. I have all the links to social media down below, as well as our link tree, where it has links to everything that we do. Rumble, Twitter, Instagram, GETTR. We're on everything. So not everything, but most things. Yeah, we'll have everything listed down below, and I'll have the articles for this as well. Pretty crazy stuff, but I hope you guys are having a great weekend. We're just getting started today. It's Friday. I'll be making some episodes this weekend for you guys to keep you guys occupied until we get, the podcast up and running again. It's been kind of weird lately, getting interviews and stuff set up and work, and just, like, I don't do this for money, obviously. It's just kind of a hobby that I have. If if this was my job, it'd be great, but we'd be putting episodes together every day. But we don't, and I didn't really do it for that. So I didn't put this channel together to be like, I'm going to make a shit ton of money and we're going to, do that. If that happens to happen one day, that's great. I'll do it. But, I still got a job that I enjoy and stuff on the side, or that's my main job. That's how we make money here. But yeah, that's the big reason why we can't really put together a whole lot of interviews and stuff. So we're trying to pull people as much as we can. They also have to be interesting, right? Too. I'm not going to be putting out episodes of people that you guys won't enjoy and topics you don't really care about. So we're looking to put some stuff together about 9/11 again, specifically the Pentagon And the last episode that we did with James Corbett about 9/11 that got pulled off of YouTube. And they cited, I don't remember what it was, a hate speech, I think it was. So we were talking about the Middle East and stuff, but it was just a bunch of facts that's already been recorded. So that got pulled off. If you guys want to catch that episode, you can find it on Rumble. It's still up there. But yeah, we'll be putting that together this weekend, so you guys look out for that. And a few other episodes of High Strangeness, recording some interviews for the podcast. If you guys want to share that with anybody and you really enjoy what we do, please consider sharing the link to the show on YouTube. We have the podcast, and then obviously High Strangeness. Like and subscribe if you guys aren't already, as well as hitting that bell icon so you guys don't miss an episode in the future. But yeah, we'll have all the links, social media down below. You guys hit me up. Let me know what you guys think. I really appreciate your time this weekend. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Appreciate it.